we want to see how to integrate MuleSoft with databases, how to query data in databases, and also how to send data to databases using MuleSoft. But first, we have to understand what databases are and the language that is used the language that is used to interact with databases, which is SQL. So first, we will see what databases are, why do we need them, why are they important, and so on. And then we'll understand the SQL syntax, and mainly we'll focus only on the part that is important for our course to integrate MuleSoft with databases. And then we will start integrating MuleSoft actually with databases. So today we are going to mainly focus on we are going to see hands-on examples rather than just talk the theory. I want to show you the differences of using databases versus spreadsheets. What are the pros and cons of each one of them, so that you can easily understand that. But before that, I want to tell you that there are, for those of you who have never heard about databases, there are different kinds of databases out there, and these kinds of databases, they are used to store structured kind of data. Data can be generally divided into three. I have shared an article here that you can read and understand on this page. So data can be divided into three generally: structured data, unstructured data, and semi-structured data. So when we say structured data, it is data that you can that has predefined structure. Rows, you can put it as rows and columns, where the columns are some attributes about the data and the rows are instances. We'll see when we open Workbench an example. But these kinds of data are called structured data. We also have unstructured data. Unstructured data is data that doesn't have predefined structure, like images, videos, social media data, and so on. And most of the data out there is unstructured data. There is also semi-structured data that it has some structured, but it is not like as well predefined as the structured data. So we have structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data. But when we talk about the RDBMS databases, we are talking about structured data where we can store the data in tables. And there are different kinds of relational database management systems out there. As you can see here, we have MySQL, Postgres, Teradata, SQLite, and Oracle database, and SQL Server. These are the most common ones. In this class, we will see, I hope you have installed already MySQL and Postgres. So we will integrate MuleSoft with both of them. Like, for example, if one of them is down, then get data from the other one, or based on the importance of the data or the data type, send it to one destination over the other, and such kinds of things we are going to see. However, when you see many kinds of databases, don't get overwhelmed. The SQL language that we use to interact with databases is more or less predominantly the same. They have some differences where you can just refer the documentation and get the function for each one of them, but the standard SQL is more than 80% or even more than that. The same code can work in all of them, and especially for our case, since we will not be looking at advanced kinds of functionalities. If you just study the introductory SQL, it should be fine to interact with all of them. So here I have 3 hands-on examples. We are going to see why we need databases and how they are different from spreadsheets. I hope you have downloaded the data that I shared in the slides. One is the diamonds data, which is publicly available data. The other one is the car crashes for Maryland. And also, I have also, if we get time at the end, we are going to see also the Food and Drug Administration drug side effects. So we are going to see why analyzing them with Excel is not optimal, whereas with databases, why it is good thing to use database in such cases. So Here I have summarized the advantages of using databases as compared to spreadsheets. The first bullet point, as you can see, is it helps us to manage large volume of data. That means it is scalable. Scalable means you can increase it. And it is scalable because it is space efficient, and since we store data in tables, there is no duplication of attributes and other factors. But generally, databases are much more scalable than Excel or Google Sheets. Google Sheets and Excel, they have limits on the number of rows and columns you can have, but with databases, you can scale them up depending on the computing resources you have. And also, it is easy to research data with databases. Once you know how to write SQL code, you can quickly write SQL code and get results. We will see why they are better for accuracy. And also, there is what is called data integrity. Data integrity means you can enforce, you can have rules for each rows, for each columns, where, for example, so that they have specific types of data types. A given column, if you specify it should be a number, then someone cannot put, for example, name in that column. Or if it is a name, and if you try to enter a number to it, then it will not let you do that. So databases are also useful for data integrity. And the level of data security you can have with databases is much better than what you can do with Excel or spreadsheets. Even if you can apply passwords to spreadsheets or Excel data, it is not still highly secure. So for security, for data integrity, for scalability, easy to update and easy to use, for all these purposes, databases are better than Excel. Now we are going to see these bullet points one by one to understand them. So the first hands-on is the car crashes data from data.gov. I hope you have downloaded this. If you have not downloaded it, when you get time, go download it from the website. So it is this data, Maryland statewide vehicle crashes from 2015 to 2021, and they have data in different formats. I have downloaded this one, the comma separated values, because I want to open it with spreadsheet, obviously, or with Excel. So that data is here. Let me show you what issues I get when I try to open it. So vehicle crashes is here. I'm trying to open it with Excel, as you can see. The first thing, let's say, for example, I want to understand how many rows it has. One thing, it takes time, as you can see. The other thing, if multiple people at the same time want to answer some question with it, imagine when two people are trying to open it, even, it will get so busy, even if we share it, even if we put it on Google spreadsheets. Whereas in databases, to query that, once you have it in databases to query that, it doesn't take that much time as compared to this one. You see, it is 48% so far. Let's see how we can do it in MySQL. So I hope you have created this MuleSoft. If you go over the slides, I have shown how to create a MuleSoft database here, and under it insert the diamonds table. The other two, I just put them here to show, for the class purpose, just to help us understand the concept. Otherwise, if you get time and if you have good computer, you can insert them, or otherwise it is okay. We just want to use them to understand the concept here. So as you can see, I got an error message. It says, let me minimize this and show you. So see this one, the data is too large for the Excel grid. If you save this workbook, you will lose data that was not loaded. So what this is telling us is the data is too large to be opened with Excel, and that means it will open only a part of it. So that part of it, if I open it, and if I try to save it, that means it will overwrite it and I will lose some records, is what it's saying. So in short, from the car crashes data, what we are saying is the car crashes data, we cannot analyze it with Excel because Excel cannot open this many rows. The number of rows that data set has, Excel cannot open it. And how many rows does it have? We can quickly see here. If I come, that one is the vehicle, this one. So quickly to show you here, it is this one. Don't worry about if you don't know SQL for now, it is okay. But I'm just checking the number of rows that the vehicle crashes has, and if I run it, it will give me how many rows it has. It has 1.44 million rows. And that makes sense because we know Excel can handle only about 1 million rows, 1 million something rows. So it cannot open more than that number of rows. And especially if it has more columns even, that will be less. So it depends on the number of rows and columns you have. Whereas here, once I insert it in the database, then as you can see, the query is fast, it doesn't take time. Multiple people can use it at the same time, multiple people can query it, and the data is secure, and I can also update it and so on. So that is one advantage. Data, if the number of rows you have, if it is more than roughly 1 million rows, then you cannot open it with Excel or with Google Sheets, and you cannot analyze it. Whereas with databases, it is scalable. So that is one fact I want you to know about databases versus spreadsheets or Excel. The other one, the second one, is the ease of analysis with databases. So we have the diamonds data. We will analyze just one scenario with Excel and one scenario with SQL, and you will see the ease of analysis. In addition to the scalability and the possibility of multiple people using it at the same time, also interacting with databases is also much easier than using SQL. It is more powerful also. Things that you cannot do, I mean with Excel, things that you cannot do with Excel, you can do it with SQL when you have the data in databases. So let's see that now with the diamonds data. So the diamonds data, you can get it from my GitHub repo. I have put it there. It is publicly available data. It is used in different tutorials, but it comes with software packages. So I exported it and put it as CSV here. So it is this one. You can download it from here. Or if you have forked already, if you clone this repo also, you will get it in your computer. But let me open it and show you the diamonds data. It has less than 1 million rows. So obviously we can open it with Excel. As you can see, it opened it without failing. However, I want to show you, we will do the same kinds of analysis with Excel and with SQL, and you will see how easy it is. Once you know SQL, how easy it is to use SQL to analyze data. So in here, I hope you see this. So let me increase the font. And increase the column, which is also 214. Okay, so this data, I have added information about the data in the Google slides. It is just for our understanding, otherwise it is not that important. So this is about diamonds data, different attributes of different diamond instances. So if I come back to Excel, okay, give me a second for some reason it is not opening. Okay, I will go click it from here and I hope it will come. Okay, so these are the columns about our data. We call them attributes. They are attributes. And the rows here, this column is, this one for example is carat, this is cat, this is its color, this is clarity, depth, price of that diamond, it is length, width, and depth. And these are different diamond instances. So horizontally, the horizontal record is an instance, whereas the vertical record is an attribute. So an attribute, for example, for us people could be our height, our name, our age, our address, and so on. And an instance is a specific person. Me, for example, one instance, I will have one row, another person a second row, another person another row, and so on. So we have different diamond instances, and they have different attributes, as you can see. So how many rows do we have here? We have, if I scroll down to the bottom, I have 53,940, because the top one is simply the columns, the different column names. So we have 53,940. We can quickly see here also. I can check this one. So if I run this, as you can see, it gives me 53,940. So don't worry about the SQL code here. Just let's focus on the concept for today. So, okay, we said we can open this data, we can open it with Excel, we can analyze it with Excel, but let's see how easy it is to analyze with SQL as compared with Excel. Let's say, for example, let's answer one question. Let's say, for example, one question. Let me go see here. What examples do I have? So the frequency of the number of diamonds by carat. Which carat has more number of instances here? Which of these carat values? So if I click here to show you the different carat values, it ranges from 0.22 to 5.01. So which of the carats is the most common one? Let's see that one, for example, in Excel versus in SQL. So I want you to show you the steps, like the steps involved in each one of them. If you don't know it, that's okay. Just understand that doing things with SQL, having the data in databases is handy. But this one, what I can do is select this column, then go to insert, then go to pivot table, and then I want to specify the location where I want to be the output. See the steps involved. Now I put the carat on rows, and count of that for values. So this one, rather than sum, I have to change it to count. I do like this. So it shows me the count of each carat here. Let's order it in descending order, so that the carat value that is most frequent shows first. So you can click here. More options. Descending means it starts with the highest. Ascending means it starts with the lowest. Go here. It asks me based on what do you want me to sort it. I tell it based on the count of the carat, which is a column n, which is the frequency in this case. When I do like this, I get like this. So you see, it involved a number of steps. When I try to answer this simple question with Excel, I see the different carat values on this column, and their counters here. So I can see the frequency anyway. 0.3 is the most common one, followed by 0.31, and so on. And I can see the least one also. It is a matter of just in the sorting, sort it in ascending order rather than descending order. So if I do this, sort it in ascending order, you see all of these ones have, these carat values have one record up to here. So we saw this, how we can do it in Excel. Now let's see how we can do it with SQL. And in SQL, I have the code here. So SQL, when it tries to retrieve data from databases, it starts with select. And then it has from. The from is used to specify the source or the table name. And my table is under the MuleSoft. I have a couple of tables, as you can see. So it is diamonds, so I specify MuleSoft.diamonds. And in here, since I want to get the frequency by carat, I'm grouping it by carat and ordering it by the frequency in descending order. So this is descending, and if I just leave it by default, it is ascending. We'll see all of this syntax one by one, just starting from select, just for today's understanding at a high level, comparing Excel versus SQL. So just run this. Once you know this, it has also auto-completion. When you try writing it, it will auto-complete some of the functions. So it is easy. So just run this. Now, if I run this, as you can see, we are sorting it in descending order, and the results are here. Okay. The results are here, and the results are the same like what we get from Excel. I don't know why my Excel is not opening. So this one we say in descending order based on the carat. So 0.3, it has 2,604, followed by 0.31, 2,249, and that is what we see here also. So just you write some code, then it is very fast, and writing the code is not difficult. It is like easy in all the English. As we start learning it, you will see it. For those of you who don't know SQL, it is just very easy, and it is scalable also. Data sizes that you cannot open with Excel, you can analyze them. You can put them in databases and analyze them, and also databases handle sophisticated kinds of analysis. We could not open the data. In this one, we were not able to open the data with Excel. So when you have more than 1 million rows, you cannot open it with Excel. In the second hands-on, in this one, we compared our analysis with SQL versus spreadsheet with Excel. And for the easy kind of just aggregating the number of records by carat type, in Excel it involves number of steps. In SQL, you just write a simple code. And also, in addition to that, there are lots of complicated analysis that you cannot do with Excel, but you can do with SQL. So you can practice, especially once we start studying SQL, or if you have already started reading the W3C SQL tutorials. This is what we are going to go over, and it is well explained step by step. It has exercises also, so you can go over these different functions that you have on the left as far as you can, and practice on their website. And also, if you have not already done so, import the diamonds data. This data, import it to MySQL workbench and experiment with it. Like, for example, like what we did, which carat type is common, which carat type is the most expensive, and what are the different, which color is more expensive, the most expensive, and the price range. What does the price distribution look like, and so on. You can experiment with different questions with this data once you import it to Workbench. So that is our second hands-on. I think before we move to the next one, I will take questions, but here to import it to the diamonds data, by the way, to import it to Workbench, I have specified the steps here with screenshots. So go over the screenshots if you have not done it already and import it. But for those of you who, you can import data to databases programmatically using different programming languages. As MuleSoft developers, you will not be importing data to databases. Data will be somewhere in a database. You will only consume it. So you should not worry that much. But just for this dummy purpose, for the tutorial purpose, you can open it like you can import it like what I have shown on the slides. However, if the data volume is large, remember importing data like this, it takes time. Even for the diamonds dataset, importing it to Workbench based on your computer, it could take you so long. Whereas if you just send it using programming language, it doesn't take that much time. Let me show you for your understanding. I imported the different tables using Python, and I want to show you how long it takes. Let's drop it here, the diamonds data. So if I right click here, I can click drop table. Drop table means delete table. So if I do like this, by the way, by right clicking, when you interact here, you can see what the SQL code is also for your understanding here. So it shows you the SQL code that it is going to execute. But like this, by clicking execute, I have dropped it. That means that table has been cancelled. Now, if I want to import it using just the manual way, following the Google slides that I shared, you go here. Okay, oh yeah, the database, I have created it already, but like you right click on the database, which is a MuleSoft, and you go to data table import wizard. It brings this window. Then you go click your data set, then you click next. Then here, this one, you just leave it to default. So it is saying it will import it to the MuleSoft database, and under that database, it will have different tables, and the table name for this data will be diamonds. So you click next. Now in here, in the encoding, if the encoding is not correct, it doesn't import the whole data. And if you just accept UTF-8, since for this Excel, make sure you choose Latin one. Don't worry about this for now, and just click next. It will import it. However, it will take time. You have to know it will take time. For those of you who know Python, I have my SQL credentials here. So it is in my computer. So it is localhost is the host. The port for my SQL is 3306. The database name we created is MuleSoft. My username and password, since it is in my computer anyway, I have the username and password. I imported some packages here, and let me show you just sending it programmatically, that it doesn't take time. So even if it takes time importing it manually, because it has to first check the data type. If you send it programmatically in Python, for example, since Python tells the database what the data type of each of the column is, whether it is a number, string, and so on, it is very fast. So this one, I read it, and let me show you sample data. So now to send it to the database, I just use this command, as you can see, and it will complete in a couple of seconds. Unlike when you try to import it manually, which can take an hour or even more than that. So it has already completed. If I come here, you just right click in this blank space and refresh it. So the table is here. This is a diamonds table. You can right click here, and to check the data, you just click select rows limit 1000. That means it will not show you more than 1000 records. So just click this one. So as you can see, the data has been already imported. So import this data, and you'll practice with it. SQL is relatively easy to learn as compared to other programming languages, and it is good if you know it. It increases your employability. Okay, so we have seen the second use case. Now I will unmute this and take any questions, or if you encountered any kind of issues also we can talk. So go to participants and allow participants to unmute. Okay. So now let me take any questions on databases at a high level, the points we discussed, the different databases or relational database management systems, and also why we need them. We mentioned these pointers. Mainly we saw in hands-on 1 and 2, we saw a couple of these bullet pointers. In hands-on 1, we were unable to open it with Excel, but with database, it can handle even billions, let alone millions of records. In the second one also, we did a simple analysis with SQL and spreadsheet. The spreadsheet, it involves relatively more steps as compared to the SQL, and also SQL, with SQL you can do much more advanced, sophisticated analysis that you cannot do with that you cannot do in Excel. We said, and we discussed about importing this Diamonds database, what it has, and so on. And for those of you who know Python also, I know some of you have been telling me that you use Python. You can get the code that I used for importing the data is in my GitHub repo. So it is this one, insert into my SQL. This is not required for the class. Knowing Python is not required for the class, but if you know Python, it makes even your work much more smoother. So we saw these things so far. Do you guys have any questions about what we discussed so far? Anyone has any questions? Can you unmute yourselves? Okay, let me see. Yeah, you can mute answer yourselves, right? Can you hear me? Salam, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Does anyone have any question or any issue? Do you guys install MySQL and Workbench?
Sure.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
So it is good if you import the data sets that we are going to see in this class and practice them in your free time. Okay, so now let's see the third one. Another one is the third hands-on is about the ease of analysis. So it is easy to use database as compared to Excel. And the third hands-on is when you have multiple data sets. So you can have, we said Excel cannot open more than, let me check how many rows does Excel handle. How many rows does Excel handle? Right, like this. So it handles 1,048,576 rows by around 16.4 thousand columns. And you can say, okay, why don't I just divide my data into multiple Excel files? For example, each one of them 800,000 rows. However, when you have multiple Excel files, doing your analysis even will be more difficult, because combining the data in Excel, since opening it, combining it, and so on takes time. It is not very handy. It is challenging. Whereas with databases, using databases is very suitable for such kinds of analysis. Like, for example, I know there are a couple of people who join here who are researchers in graduate school. If you have some data you want to research, the data you get it from some website, you import it. It is multiple data files. Then before you do your analysis, your research related to your research, first import the data to database. Once you have the data in database, then your analysis becomes well streamlined. So the third hands-on is related to that. I want to show you using public data from the Food and Drug Administration. Like they have this data on adverse effects. So these are side effects related to drugs, I think, and equipment and so on. So the data is structured quarterly. That means there are 4 data files in a given year, quarter 1 to 4. So, and you see 2021, for example, we have from January to March, from April to June, from July to September, and so on. And this data, each data in zip file, you can see the size. This one, for example, the zip file is 70 megabytes. And if you download it and unzip it, it will be much more than that. Now, let's say you want to answer some question, or you are doing a research and you want to combine all these data sets and analyze it. Let's say, for example, I checked from 2018 to 2021, I think, and the data size I have, let me show you. I downloaded them here. These are the zip data files. As you can see, there is these 4 data files are, for example, for 2018 quarters 1 to 4. The next one's 2019 quarters 1 to 4. The next one is 2020 quarters 1 to 4, and so on. So I unzipped this. Now the unzipped data is here. As you can see, the size is 5.6 GB. So if I click here, you can see the size is 5.6 GB, and you can never imagine to do to analyze such data with spreadsheets. And plus, other disadvantage is also, or the other thing to consider here is also, there are multiple data sizes. So the dark side effects by itself, we have these data files. How many data files? 16 data files, because I have 4 years. So let's say you want to analyze this data. The option you have is to insert all this data to your database and then do your analysis. So let me show you how I did that. I inserted this data, as I said, using Python. That is not important for you. I just wanted to show you the concept. So I am starting here. For those of you who know Python, I'm creating URLs here by concatenating quarters and years. I'm considering from 2018 to 2021. I have the URLs of each one of them. So if I just take this URL, for example, it is going to download data for 2018 Q1 and so on. Then I download the data files and unzipped them, and it created these different data files. Now I want to import the drug side effects, which means I want to import these data sets into my database to do the analysis. Then I just read them in. Now I'm checking the number of rows I have, and it shows it has about 1.8 million rows. So, and also since this is increasing quarterly, imagine if you are doing research, how to use different types of data, how to integrate it, about drug side effects, about the demographics, about the, and lots of things. So you will have multiple tables, is what I'm trying to say. So that one, even if it is 1.8 million, to insert the data to the database, it doesn't take time if you are inserting it programmatically, unlike loading it manually. Don't try to load manually when you have millions of rows. It will take the whole day. So I imported it, I inserted it to the database, and under MuleSoft, if I go to tables, as you can see, I have this drug side effects. And now let me show you what it looks like. If I right click on it and just click select rows 1000, so the data, I just inserted only specific columns, drug name, and the route that it is taken, like is it like, for example, shows on mouse, or is it given on the skin, and so on, the dose amount, and so on and so on. There are different features here. So from this one, for example, we may want to answer, what is the drug name that has the most common side effects? This very easy question. Even if you download the data here, if you want to open it you cannot answer it with Excel is what I'm trying to say. So even you cannot open one of them, or it will be very problematic. It will fail. It will truncate the rows. Whereas once I insert it to my database, here I can just get count of number of records as let's say frequency, and select here. So select is used to select. After select, we specify column names. So I specify drag name, comma, the frequency from the table name, as you can see here. And since I am getting frequency by each drag name, I have to group it by this column. For each drag type, give me the frequency is what I am doing. And then, since the question is what is the drag name that has the highest number of side effects, I have to order it by the frequency. And if I don't add anything here, it will be in ascending order. That means from the lowest to the highest. But I want the drag name with the highest side effects, so I want to sort it in descending order. That means the one with the highest will be on the top. Now, if I just run this, if I just run this, it is running. As you can see, it is busy. And then I will get the results once it is done. So since it has more number of rows, it took a couple of seconds. So as you can see, this is the drag that has the highest number of side effects, followed by this one, and so on. So, but generally, what I showed in the third hands-on is analyzing data when you have multiple data files, where each one of them is large volume of data. Each one of them, you cannot open it with Excel. Using databases is the way to go. And we are talking about relational databases. There are databases that we use for unstructured data also, but these databases that we are interested in, that I'm showing here, are used for structured data, where the data is structured. It has predefined structure in rows and columns, and it can have multiple tables, and the tables have a defined it is called relational because the different tables have relationships. Like if you check the NerdWin database, for example, assume it is about one hypothetical company. It has this company, it sells products, and there are different, as you can see, different products here. If I just click this one, it shows me the different products they have. And what columns do I see? Product ID, product name, supplier ID, and so on. And if you click the supplier table and open sample data, it has supplier ID is here. So we have supplier ID in the supplier table and in the product table. So this is the product table. As you can see, there is supplier here. Supplier ID. The supplier also, I have supplier ID. So they have columns that you use to join the different tables. So there is no redundancy. You don't, since you have relationships, predefined relationships between the different tables, you don't, there is no duplication of attributes, and that is why it is called relational. That is why they are called relational databases, because the different tables have predefined relationships. So we are looking about these types of databases, and there are different databases, but the most common ones are what I showed in this slide. In my career so far, I have used MySQL, Postgres, SQL Server. The SQLite is also just an easy one. It is commonly used. I have never used Oracle. Yeah, but so these are the different databases. We will integrate MuleSoft. Once we study SQL, we will integrate MuleSoft with MySQL database and Postgres database to read data in our application. Like when we use a request, HTTP request, for example, in last class, we were requesting an external API to give us data. We can also request a database to give us data, or we can send data to a database to be written to that database, and that is our next task. But in the meantime, for those of you who are new to SQL, please go over the W3C SQL tutorials and practice with that, and also import the diamonds data and practice with that. I will send a couple of questions, a couple of easy questions that you can answer with SQL with the diamonds data once we dive into SQL. So it is good if you import the diamonds data. And let me see. Okay, so see this one, for example, this slide. What we are doing is there is data coming in. That data coming in, we are writing it as JSON format, CSV format, and Excel format using scatter gather in parallel. In real world, we don't usually want to write the data to our machine, but rather send it to more reliable and scalable data storage, which is in the cloud. So it could be databases. So in this case, for example, it may be inserting the data. This one, we can just replace the write to JSON and write to CSV to insert to MySQL and insert to Postgres. And MySQL and Postgres, we have the local versions. We install them to our computers, but they could also be in the cloud, like in AWS or in Google, and inserting the data will be the same thing. You just only change the credentials, like the credentials that I showed when you log into your Workbench, it has these credentials. When it is in the cloud, the host rather than local host, it will be URL of that database in the cloud. So this one, we are going to practice it by replacing the write to JSON and the write to CSV by insert to MySQL and insert to Postgres. And if I see week 6, what did we do here? In here, what we did is you request data, you specify the format you want it to be, and it converts the data in that format and gives you back the data. Like if you have an application that needs CSV data, it gives you the data in CSV format. If you have another application that needs JSON data, you tell it you need JSON and it gives you in JSON format and so on. And this one, we can replace it, for example, if you need some kind of data because it resides in one table, it gets it from the appropriate location. Like if you have a couple of tables, some of the tables, they could be in Postgres database, the other tables, they could be in MySQL database. So based on the table name, it can go to the right storage system and grab the data. We can modify this project also by that and practice. And week 7, this one is the same concept, just with synchronous and asynchronous processing. In most cases, we will use the asynchronous processing, and we will modify this project also. So as you can see, all the previous projects, or most of the previous projects that we were practicing with, they can be modified and be used to get data from databases or to store data in databases and so on.